Okay, I want to tackle a very relevant question from Stephen McGrath. I think that this applies to 99.9% of the population of people that are currently training, exercising, dieting on a program. Essentially people that are trying to move forward, or people that are moving forward in terms of bettering their body composition and performance in the gym. So I'll read his email to you and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So Stephen McGrath. Hi Russ, firstly I wanted to say thanks for letting me on the trial. So Stephen's come through our 7-day trial that we're recently doing from our Wigan gym. I've now done 4 weeks, I've lost 8 pounds. And I've lost 5 pounds a week before last. I've lost 2 inches off my waist and dropped 5 to 6% body fat. So I'm just going to pause there. First up, that's fucking awesome. We can see in Stephen's, like, the way he looks, just his face, his skin, his eyes. Obviously, he's looking leaner. He's got that spring in his step when he's coming in the gym compared to when he first came in. This week, however, I didn't lose anything. And that's going to be the key to this question. So I suppose, in my own way, I've answered my question, which was, how much of an impact does a couple of bad days have on your weekly results? I've been away at the works do, so free ale, free food, etc. I couldn't avoid going. I had clients to meet. However, for the first time in a month, I cheated. Up to then, I was literally doing the 14-day detox diet, but carried it on for 4 weeks. I know I'm not a machine. However, I do feel as though I've let myself down. That's key as well. Okay, the psychological impact of this. 2 days drinking, didn't do too bad food-wise, no carbs, but did have a full English on Sunday and felt shit as soon as I'd eaten it. I'm back on it and I will not be drinking again for a while. In a nutshell, my question is as above. What's the impact of a bad day? I've not lost an ounce this week. Better than putting anything on, I suppose. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this, Steve. Okay, so first thing, like I said, absolutely, well done, fantastic, fantastic effort in the first sort of month of being at RM Fitness Wigan. I'm going to tie this in actually with those of you that get my daily emails. I talked about on Sunday for Father's Day we went to the beach and it was a nice day and we all got an ice cream. And I sat there eating my ice cream and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, how many people feel too guilty when they're on a diet or they're trying to move forward about enjoying something like an ice cream or having an odd beer at the weekend or going out for a meal with their other half. Like, how many people like avoid doing that and it causes them guilt and they feel like they're on a diet or they feel like they're not on a diet, and then when they're not on the diet, like Stephen's probably saying here, they feel like they're gaining weight. So this sort of like conundrum where it's like this side I'm dieting and I'm losing weight but I'm missing out on things, or I can be over here and I'm not dieting, I'm not missing out, but I'm not watching what I'm eating and then I'm having fun. And people kind of sometimes see it as very much a black and white thing, and I'm going to talk about this bit in the middle. So I wrote an email yesterday and the title of the email was, can I have, in fact, I need to look it up. The title of the email was, can you eat ice cream and lose weight, plus my mood swings? And I talked about, like I say, going to the beach and having an ice cream with the kids, you know, something that we should all be able to enjoy, that type of thing. So I just want to tie these 2 points in because they're very, very, they're related to each other, and I think this is gonna like answer a lot of the questions that people kind of have in the head. So in a nutshell, what I'm gonna, so the question I'm posing is that what should you be able to tolerate and still move forward? So we're going to answer Stephen's question, but the first thing is that when people join a gym like RM Fitness, probably 8 people out of 10, I'd say the metabolism isn't in a great place. So if people have been kind of like not eating the right foods, or they've been abusing foods, or they've been drinking too much alcohol, they've been eating too much chocolate, crisps, processed foods, junk foods, fast foods, takeaways, fizzy pop. People have been consuming a lot of that type of processed, sugar-laden food, and they've not been having the types of food that we want them on, which is sort of like more protein-based foods, natural single ingredient type foods, vegetables, salads, drinking a lot of water, and combining that approach with the exercise, then your metabolism can be in a bit of a shoddy place. And what we mean by that is the amount of calories that your body needs at rest to get through the day and perform all its functions is like quite low when your nutrition and your training aren't in the right place. Now, what this then means is that when somebody joins a program like ours and we dial the nutrition in, it means that they've not got this kind of buffer that we need them to be able to have in order to tolerate consuming these bad foods on an occasional basis. So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit, and I want to paint a picture for you. I want to paint a picture that it's possible. You might not think it is. I want you to imagine this scenario that you're putting on all your clothes and they fit great. You're motivated every single day of the week. You're sleeping like a baby. You're bouncing out of bed. You're looking forward to going exercising and training. You look in the mirror and you're actually happy with your body. You feel happy and confident when you're at work, when you're in social settings, when you with your partner, and life just feels great, really. And that's because you feel good about the way you look, and that has a big impact on the rest of your life. And I want you to imagine that you could actually look and feel like that, but still enjoy foods and some alcohol. You know, them types. You can still enjoy those foods in balance and in moderation, and you can still progress forward, and you can still be losing body fat every week. You can still be losing inches every week. You can still be losing like weight on the scales. I know that's not always the right thing to look at, but people can relate to it when I say that. And yet you can still tolerate putting in these strategic occasional points in a week where you veer off your diet and you enjoy a couple of drinks, or you enjoy a meal at a restaurant, or you enjoy a takeaway, or whatever it is that you want to enjoy, a bit of chocolate. So first of all, like, my point of view and my take on that, and I speak for all the guys that work for me in RM Fitness as a whole, is that you should be able to find that balance. Like, we aim for all our members to be able to find that balance. I'm not saying everybody can find that balance, but we certainly give everybody the tools in order for them to find that happy medium where they're moving forward, but they don't feel like they're sacrificing on the nutrition, and they don't feel like it's really, really boring type of foods that they've got to eat like most of the time or anything like that. So that, and then I'm gonna continue where I just left off in that should be possible for everybody. It doesn't matter. Like, we've had guys come in and lose 9 stone. Okay, we've had multiple people lose over 5 stone, and we have a lot of people that lose, say, between 2 and 3 stone to get to their ideal body type. And then we have a lot of people again that come in and they're not a great deal overweight. They're just carrying a bit of baby fat, a bit of puppy fat, and they need to lose that and put a bit of muscle on. It's more of a recomposition thing. And all those people are working towards being able to have a break from the nutrition in terms of like enjoying the foods that they like. Now, I think what's really important is we're creating this buffer with the metabolism. And what I mean by that is that, let's just say someone comes in and they're eating like loads and loads of shit. They're eating a lot of calories from like bad food. Okay. And then they come in and then they drop all those calories because they start eating really clean. Okay. That can create this like gap in terms of like how much food someone's eating and how fast the metabolism is. Now, if that's a big gap, then you're not going to get away. If that's only a small gap, you're not going to get away with eating like cheap foods and things like that, and you're going to have this rebound rapidly. So we've noticed people, don't we? Like, you might be one of these people, or you might know somebody like this, that they're kind of always on a diet maybe, and it seems like as soon as they step off that diet, they'll gain like 3 or 4 pounds just like off like 1 or maybe 2 bad meals at a weekend. Well, that's not a normal response. And that isn't something that that's something that's not right there with your training and your metabolism. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that you're doing the right type of training for a start. So you need to make sure you're doing the right type of resistance training combined with like interval training. And you're not sort of just like beasting yourself all the time, because what that does is that actually down-regulates your metabolism, because you will lose muscle mass when you're just beasting yourself all the time. And there's only one thing that's worse than beasting yourself all the time, and that's beasting yourself and under-eating. So what we see a lot of people doing is they punish themselves in the gym, okay? So it's cross trainer, high intervals, or high interval generic sort of class in the gym or something like that. And they combine that with either a low carbohydrate diet or just a low calorie diet in general. They're just like not eating very much food. Okay, and what this does is it slows the metabolic rate right down. Okay. Then it achieves that because you're not eating very much food, and also you're probably burning muscle tissue when you're training. Then what happens then, it's very easy then just to overeat a little bit, isn't it? If your metabolism, if you only need this many calories per day for your body to sort of survive and carry out its daily functions, and you have like a bad weekend and you eat this many calories, well, you've overshot them by quite a long way, and that's going to have a significant effect in terms of you gaining body fat later on in that week, over the next 2 weeks. Now, what we want is want to create your metabolism like really, really high and fast. So you're burning a lot of calories. Your body needs a lot of calories. And the only way to achieve that is by building muscle mass. Okay, and when, ladies, we're not talking about making you into Arnold Schwarzenegger. But in addition to that, I'll take it off this email. You can look at something a bit more pleasant. So in addition to that, we need to be building the muscle mass, but we also need to be eating a lot of food to be able to upregulate your metabolism. And what that creates then is if my metabolism was this high when I came into the gym, and then over like a 6, 8, 10, 12 week period we build it to this high, well, now when I eat that little bit of shit at the weekend, it's just like a pebble dropping in the ocean. It's not a big deal. Now, I hope that makes sense, because that's like a context that's really kind of like, some people struggle to get their head around that. And I want to take it a step further in terms of, I want to be a bit more specific to Stephen's question. I'll give you that background information really, so that what I'm now going to say when I talk specifically to Stephen makes a bit more sense. So, where he's put, let's go back to his email and just actually paraphrase him. So where his actual question is, what's the impact of a bad day? So, what I'm getting at is that we should all be working towards being able to tolerate, you know, a cheat meal. I like to call it a cheat meal. I know some people disagree with that term, but we should all be working towards being able to tolerate, you know, a takeaway once a week, a couple of drinks once a week, a meal at a restaurant once a week, a bit of chocolate once or twice a week. We otherwise, what's the point? Like I always say, what's the point? Okay, on one hand, yeah, you've got a six-pack, but you've got to eat boring as shit food and train 6 days a week. Or on the other hand, and you're miserable because you're giving up things that you want, but you feel like you look good. On the other hand, you look like a bag of shit, but then you're kind of happy in some ways because you can eat what you want. You've got to find that bit in the middle, guys. You've got to find it, and the only way to do it is to make this what you're doing is sustainable. So it's evolution 365. Okay, the etiquette what that is about, the ethos, sorry, is that it's about doing things that are sustainable 365 days a year, but not just for a year, but for the rest of your life, and not doing things that are so short term that you can't do them forever. So I think what's probably happened with Stephen there is probably two things we need to look at. I think firstly, the impact of that day. It sounds like it's actually been a couple of days, maybe you're drinking, but the impact of that day has been quite high because he's come in off a period of being deconditioned. He's probably ate a lot of shit or drank a lot of beer for quite a long time. He's then gone from that to being completely dialed into our nutrition protocol and being really, really, really strict with himself. Well, of course your body's going to notice that little bit of a difference then. When you go then and have like a weekend where you're essentially just like completely changing what you're doing, that's going to be like, you know, that is going to shock your body a little bit, and that's probably why you've not noticed like a weight loss on the scales this week. Now don't give up, because for every negative there's always positives that come out, and I think the positive for you is you've learned now where your body's at. It's a bit like training to failure, isn't it? If you train that hard that you know where your end line is and your limitations are, you meet your limitations in a training session. You don't have to do that every time you train. I wouldn't advise it. But every now and again, you'll meet your limitations. Okay, and that is brilliant because that tells you absolutely where you are. You fail on a bench press at 100 kilos. You know absolutely that is your maximum. If you're always messing around 85, 90 kilos, how do you know how far you can push yourself? Same when you're doing fitness training. Yeah, if you do a 500 meter row and you meet your limitations in that you completely slow down at the end of a 500 meter row because you've set off at 100 mile an hour and you got 1 minute 45 for argument's sake, you know that is your best effort. If you're always hovering around the 2 minute mark or the 155 mark, you don't truly know where your limitations are and you don't learn as much. So Stephen, I want you to learn from this that you were not ready, right? Whatever you did at that weekend, you're not ready for it right now. Okay, and I'm going to give you the solution. The solution is you need to phase in these cheat meals. So what you firstly need to do is be really consistent like Stephen's been. He's been very consistent for a month. Okay, but if he had come to me before that weekend, what I would have suggested was try a cheat meal. Not a cheat 2 days, a cheat meal. Okay, now that could be anything. That could just be like more carbohydrates than you normally have. It could be sweet potato chips and a steak on a Saturday night with some coleslaw. Again, so you're getting like, you know, the processed sort of mayonnaise type stuff that's in the coleslaw, the sweet potato chips. It's not the end of the world. You could have oven chips. So again, you're adding in some like trans fats and some processed stuff because we need to be able to eventually tolerate that stuff, guys. You can't avoid processed food completely forever. You need to have a balance. So we could introduce that. You know, we could then go the week after and introduce maybe like something from a takeaway to see how your body reacts. And all you're looking for is, you know, that week, did I have the same loss in body fat, the same loss in inches, the same loss in maybe body weight on the weighing scales, depending on how much weight you've got to lose, of course. Generally, do I feel like it really halted my progress on one hand, or on the other hand, do I feel like it's speeded up my process because it's revitalised me mentally? So then, boom, Sunday morning, because I had a bit of a cheat meal, I was you know, invigorated, and I felt like getting back on my proper eating plan. Did it feel like it gave me a bit of a break? And I was like, I couldn't wait to train on Monday, so it's increased my motivation and my enthusiasm to train. And there's all these things you've got to monitor, and you've got to listen to the feedback that your body's giving you. So obviously what we first need when people first start something is you need to have a period of 2 to 4 weeks where you're just sticking to the process of eating good, clean food, okay? Then we need to reintroduce like a cheat meal, like I'm saying. I think every 7 days is about right for most people. It works, you know, there's some research to say every 5 days for men and every 9 days for females. I feel that 7 days works well because most of us work like Monday to Friday, sort of like we work on like a 7-day week, don't we? So like I don't know, like I never work on a Sunday, so you know, like if I have a cheat meal on a Saturday night, it just kind of fits in the routine of our life and our lifestyle, and it keeps things happy at home, and it just works for us. You might be different, so I would try it like once a week and just monitor your biofeedback. Okay, what was your week's training like after you had your cheat meal? Was it better? Was it worse? What were my energy levels like on a Sunday after I had a cheat meal on a Saturday night? You know, what did it do to me motivation-wise? You've got to look at all these biofeedback markers and then draw a conclusion. Now, the exciting thing for you guys is the relationship is, and this is where I'm getting onto where I'm talking about having the ice cream on the beach, is that the stronger you get, the more conditioned you get, the more muscle mass you get, the longer you train for in terms of like your training history. So he's only done a month, but what's he going to be like after 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 365 days, you know, a year? You know, what's he like after 2 years? What's somebody like when they've trained? Like I've trained now consistently since I was 13. At the time of shooting this video, I'm 33. I've trained consistently with weights for 20 years. Like you're talking 3 days a week, nearly every single week for 20 years. Now, what's my ability like there to tolerate that ice cream compared to somebody, Stephen, that's not got that background? Okay, I'm not saying you've got to train for 20 years to build that up. Don't get me twisted. But I'm just saying there is that relationship. So everybody needs to be working towards enjoying the foods that they really want to eat, that don't form on a healthy plan, in my view. Otherwise, what's the point doing it? I'm just going to have a look through my notes and just see if there's anything else we can tie into this. I think probably just the second point, I said a bit earlier, there was 2 points. I think the second point is that you've got to be a bit careful when you're going off like body fat readings, inch measurements and weight, because it's not about that all the time. They're not 100% accurate. No body fat scales are 100% accurate. More importantly, it's not, you know, the scales we've got here are really, really high-tech scales. More importantly, what the issue tends to be is that our clients aren't that consistent. So or you've not been consistent for that long. If you've only been consistent for a month, well, how many years or months prior to that have you been inconsistent for? All these things are going to massively affect the readings on the scales in terms of your weight. You know, muscle weighs a great lot. We're going to be hydrating you. Your body's like 70% water, isn't it? You know, if you're coming in dehydrated and then we're hydrating you, you're going to be adding muscle mass. Your glycogen stores, you're going to be storing glycogen more efficiently, but then that might be offset if you're dropping carbohydrates in the first couple of weeks. So there's all these factors at play that mean that those measurements are not gospel. They are just a guideline, and you need to use them with your before and after pictures that you could take every 4 weeks yourself. I know we would take them maybe, longer intervals if we're doing them in the gym, but there's no reason why you couldn't do pictures every 4 weeks. How your clothes are fitting. You know, lads, you're going to want your t-shirts getting a bit tight around your arms and maybe your chest area and your upper back, and then we want them getting like looser fitting around your waist. Women, you know how you want to wear your clothes. You know, your jeans want to fit a bit better around your bum and maybe a bit slacker around your waist maybe. So there's all that. There's how you're feeling. You know, when you look in the mirror, how do you feel about yourself? Because you're going to be adding bits of muscle in different areas you're not used to seeing, and you're going to be dropping fat. So when you have a look at yourself in the knack or in your underwear, in the mirror, like how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel in general, you know? Like do you, once we get stronger, like a tremendous thing you can do. My background when I first started personal training, I used to work with a lot of businessmen, and it was surprising what it did to them in their business in terms of like how they could perform and how the business could perform and how much money they could turn over just by increasing the deadlift. So I get a guy coming in that can deadlift 30 or 40 kilos. I get that same dude 12 weeks down the line deadlifting 120 kilos, or maybe 6 months down the line deadlifting over 100 kilos. That does a tremendous amount, even if the guy doesn't lose any body fat. What does that do to his confidence levels? You know, there's all these factors that come in. So I think to conclude it and to wrap it up, I think you've got to be excited by the prospect that at some point you can start eating shitty foods and having a bit of a drink, a beer or wine or whatever you like drinking, because you've got to live, guys. You've got to live. This isn't about restricting what you're eating and putting yourself through this rigid program so that you can have a six-pack. Because I'll tell you one thing, you'll not last. You will not last the time it takes to get in good shape if this is a chore. If training is a chore for you, and if you're restricting yourself with your food, you will not last long enough to be in shape for the rest of your life. I'll tell you that now. So you've got to find a way to make this process enjoyable. You've got to find a way. And I'm sorry, but that ownership is on you. That is not on your trainer or on your gym or getting inspiration from Men's Health magazine or whatever, okay? That is personal responsibility on your behalf to make sure that you're finding training enjoyable. And if you're not finding it enjoyable, you're not doing the right stuff, okay? If you're going out running and you hate it, well, go and look for a gym that does some classes, okay? If you're at a commercial gym and you're scratching your head and you don't know what to do, go and look for a program like what we've got where you're structured and it's coming in and you're coached in a group of people that are all having a laugh. Like, look at these, look down here, you know, people are coming in, they're having a laugh when they're training. It's a good environment to train in, it's structured, it's monitored, you know that you're progressing. You've got to find a way, guys, to make that training enjoyable, because you've just got to do it. 3 days a week's the magic number for busy people. I always say it. Last 3 years of my life, I can probably, I wouldn't like to say count the amount of times on one hand, but I've not trained, it's not been that often when I've trained 5 days in a week since I've had the kids. Since we've had the kids 3.5 years ago. For me, it's like if I get 3 a week in, it does mean I can stay in good shape and strong, fit, and where I need to be. So your training's got to be enjoyable. Again, by the same token, you'll see me, if you're on my Instagram or anything like that, I put a picture of having a beer on there every now and again because I enjoy that. I'm not going to not do it. I don't give a shit if I could be 2% leaner, body fat wise, but I'm not going to not do that because that's something that I enjoy. Or if I want to have an ice cream with the kids, I'll have an ice cream. Because you train hard and you earn the right to have that bit of leeway. But what's relevant with Stephen's question is that he's not in that place yet. He will be in that place in 12 weeks, 24 weeks, after a year, whatever it is for that person. generally, the more screwed up somebody's metabolism is, and the longer they have not eaten properly for, and the longer they have not exercised properly for, the more screwed up the metabolism, the longer it's going to take to recover that metabolism and build it up. So if somebody comes in and they've been training with weights for a few years at a commercial gym, they've just hit a bit of a plateau, they need to lose that last 10 pounds of fat, they've ate reasonably well for a number of years, that person is going to probably be within 4 to 6 weeks on our program, the metabolism is going to be near enough where it needs to be. You know, you sort of like contrast that with someone who's maybe come in and they've like been deconditioned for 10 years. All right, they've had shit for 10 years and they're carrying 4 stone too much. Like that person's metabolism ain't gonna. You're not gonna fix 10 years of eating shit in 4 weeks. I'm not saying this about you, Stephen, because I don't know quite what your background was before you came here. But I'm just saying, like, you're not gonna fix that. Someone's not gonna fix that in 4 weeks. They're probably not gonna fix it in 12 weeks. Like that is a longer term project. But again, this is where you need to be engaged with the training that you're doing, and you need to be engaged with the nutrition. And I'm not saying we've got all the answers. We've got an answer that works for a group of people that really enjoy the type of training that we do, and they get results and they enjoy the nutrition protocols. But again, you've got to find what works for you guys. And there's people watching this video that might not have access to our Wigan gym or our Manchester gym. You might live miles away or whatever. So I think to conclude it, you need to get all that stuff right. So keep firing these questions, guys. I've got no issues every now and again just doing like a Q&A like this. I like it when it's a question that resonates with a lot of people when I answer it. Like a lot of people are going to watch this video and be like, yeah, like I know what you're talking about. Right, guys, I'm off now. See you in a bit.